Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can probably tell, the scenery is a little different. You guys are in my bedroom. Don't get too excited there. No funny businesses happening. We're only gonna be talking about scheduling classes in college. So if you're an incoming first year in college and you're like, how the freaking hell does scheduling classes work? What do I do? If you're just like confused like I was, keep watching because hopefully I can be of some value to you. For those of you who don't know me, hi, I'm Saurav. Or Saurav, I don't really care how you pronounce it. There's like a brown and then a white version of my name. Welcome to America. Also, not to mention the other nicknames I've gotten over the years. I've gotten Sarah, I've gotten Shiva, I've gotten just S, because they couldn't pronounce my name. Kind of sad, but am I surprised? No. A little disappointed though, but not surprised. An incoming third year at Georgia Tech, and I'm studying computer science. If you do go to Georgia Tech, my threads are in intelligence and people. So just to provide you a little bit of background on where I'm coming from. So I've gone through 2 years of college and I've gone through the scheduling process quite a few times. From my personal experience, I can tell you how stressful it is, but I can also tell you that it will eventually work out. I haven't had a semester where I haven't been happy with my schedule. I don't want to waste any more of your time with like a long, unnecessary introduction. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into breaking down how to schedule and pick classes for college. The first step in this process is pretty, self-explanatory. You first need to identify what classes that you need to take in the first place. There's a few ways of going about this. I texted my friends to get some different perspectives of how they do it and how I do it. So the way that I did it going into my first year of college is I researched into 4-year plans that the college provided me. Georgia Tech had some like 4-year plans for computer science, or actually I came in as a biomedical engineering major, but let's not talk about that. That's like a whole nother story. I looked up the 4-year plans for my major, and then I kind of selected the classes based off of that 4-year plan. It just depends on what credits you also bring in, so you might be a little bit ahead of that 4-year plan, or you might be a little bit behind. But that's always a good kind of stepping point for you to get an idea of how your 4 years would look like in college, and get a good idea of what type of classes you should take in your first semester. That's one way of doing it. I texted my friends, and there's a certain website that they use. It's called DegreeWorks. I'll put the link down below in the description. I'm a YouTuber now. I feel like such a freaking YouTuber. Not that I really am. I'm like straight up not. I like post every 4 months. I'm not a YouTuber by any means. I will put it down in the description box below. This website, it's essentially a website that allows you to keep track of what courses you've taken and what credits you've applied towards your major. And I find it really helpful because it allows you to really see what courses are left for you to take. But like if in your first years, if you're like, shit, like I don't even know like what major I am, like I'm not certain about anything. Sometimes those 4-year plans are really easy because they have like the core classes that you need to take in them, which will be applied to literally like any major. So sometimes it's better to start out with those 4-year plans instead of jumping right into like DegreeWorks or software like that. So once you have selected the classes and identified what classes you need to take for your major, now comes a time where you actually have to put together your schedule and go ahead and build it. So this is honestly the trickiest part, I would say, of the whole process. There's quite a few factors that really go into this part of the scheduling process. The way to start, I would say, with this is I would begin by using one of the following websites. You can either use CourseOff or Courseicle, depending on what school you go to. You could either use one of those two softwares, and what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was gonna give some background on those softwares. So CourseOff and Courseicle, they are visual ways of you to be able to create a schedule, and it's just easier to visually see it rather than to look at like CRNs and go searching through pages and trying to match up the times on your own. It's just a lot easier, so just use one of those softwares if your school allows you to. Those are like the two most common ones that I'm aware of. There might be others, who knows. I would go ahead, put your classes into that software, and then start experimenting with different combinations and permutations, math. But yeah, go ahead and try different permutations and is it a permutation or a combination? I guess, does order matter? Whatever, try different combinations of the classes that you would need to take, and just, it's honestly like putting together a big jigsaw puzzle where you just need to fit the classes in, right? And so you kind of just need to go ahead and just like experiment with different combinations with different classes at different times, different professors, and all that. As you're putting together your schedule using one of these visual schedule building softwares, there are a few things that you need to consider. This is why it's so tricky, because there's so many different factors for you to go ahead and consider into building your schedule. I'm gonna rank these by priority, with like the most important, I would say, up at the top. Okay, this is gonna be hard for me to rank. These two are tied for the first spot. Optimum times and then optimum professors. It's honestly a really hard call to determine whether you should choose an earlier class with a harder professor, or a better professor, or a later class with an easier professor. It just depends on whether you actually are able to get up. This bitch cannot get up for the life of him. I go normally for the later classes. When choosing your optimum times, just be honest with yourself. If you literally cannot get up, like me, go ahead and schedule classes later in the day. I found that the 10 a.m. classes are literally like the optimum time for me, but it allows me to get up at my own leisure and not feel like a steaming pile of hot shit in the morning. But it also makes sure that I get up early and actually like be somewhat productive during the morning. Otherwise I'll literally just sleep through it. Just be honest with yourself. You'll eventually probably find a time that works best for you. That's the optimum times portion. So tied again for first place is finding the optimum professors. So you really should, I shouldn't even use the word should, you have to like look into your professors. Professors can really make or break a class. Honestly, I think that professors are more important than the actual content of the class. If you have an interesting professor, but like a very boring subject material, that professor can make that subject material really interesting. I just think that it's very important for you to choose good professors. And you're probably wondering, like, how the hell do I even know who's a good professor and who's not? There are a few resources for you to determine that. If you have friends that have previously taken certain classes with a professor and they've really enjoyed it, you can go ahead and maybe consider taking them. Also, sometimes there's just like rumors around the school that like a certain professor is really good. Cantuan, looking at you. If you go to tech, you will hear that Cantuan's literally the best professor ever, and he is. I still walked into his class 30 minutes late because I couldn't get up at 10, but he is honestly a really good professor. You can choose those professors that are just known intrinsically to be good at your school. Another resource that you can confer with is ratemyprofessor.com. The link's down below in the description, YouTuber. Rate My Professor is pretty good. I mean, you kind of have to be a little careful with what you see on there, because I feel like some people just like will randomly talk like hot shit about a professor that's actually not that bad just because they just are upset. So you kind of have to be careful. So if you see like one bad review, like one scalding review, that person may have just had a bad relationship with that professor and just wanted to get their anger out. But if it's like consistently bad, then that's like a big red flag, and I would avoid taking that class with that professor and look for someone else. Another thing for you to confer with is some sort of database or whatever, if your school has it, of the different professors and their corresponding GPAs in that class. There's a website for Georgia Tech students called Course Critique. Again, link down below. I'm really on that YouTuber grind today. It's called Course Critique, and then you can go ahead and filter and sort by...
You can't filter. I literally just made that up. I don't know why I said that. There's no way to filter. You can only sort.
Ascending GPA for a certain class, and you can go ahead and select the professors that have the highest GPA if you want a higher chance, I guess, of getting an A.
Quick intermission as I demo a what am I demoing? Oh, as I'm demoing Course Critique, just for those of you who attend Georgia Tech, I thought this would be helpful. Also, I'm sorry for the audio quality. It's just so bad. I like don't know what happened. I thought I would do a little demo of how Course Critique works. You just go to critique.gatech.edu. The link is, as I've said earlier, in the description. So you type in the class name that you want to check GPAs for. So let's just do Math 1553, since like a lot of incoming freshmen have to take that class. So you click on Math 1553 once it comes up, and then boom, you have all the professors here, and then you can just click on the arrow here next to GPA, and now you have the professors sorted by increasing GPA. If you want to do decreasing GPA, you can see the professor who teaches Math 1553 and has the highest average GPAs. Oof, Math 1553. Wow, that was a trip, wasn't it? I tutor Math 1553, so if you ever are in need of help, I got you. I got you. I gotcha.
Those are the different resources that you can use to figure out who the best professor is for that certain class that you want to take. There's also one more factor that you can consider when creating your schedule. You can think of location, so optimum location as well. It's important to trace out the paths between classes to ensure that you have enough travel time between classes to actually make it to your next class.
Or in my case, you don't properly allot the amount of time necessary to travel between classes and you just end up being late. So don't be like me, like please. First years, like don't do it. Don't do it, please. It ends up in a lot of like fast walking between classes because you're running late all the time. Not a good thing. I'm trying to work on it, okay?
This isn't as big of a deal on a college campus like Georgia Tech, because honestly I feel like no matter where you are on campus, you can get to any other part on campus in a relatively short amount of time. It's pretty like condensed, so I wouldn't really worry about that if you're at Tech. I feel like other campuses, like maybe Stanford or something where they're huge, you might need to kind of really consider location as well. So those are the three main factors that really go into scheduling. Just other notes when creating your schedule, it's important to eat. Eating is a part of being human. My first year I was like, eating, what's that? Never heard of it. But yes, it is important. So you do need to leave some sort of time in your schedule for lunch. I would recommend like around lunchtime, leave in like a good like hour block for you to actually consume some sort of nutrition, because that's important, especially at a college like Tech. Sometimes it's so easy to get like caught up in your work that you just forget about eating, but eating is important. Here to hear first. Another thing that a lot of people have told me is that they enjoy scheduling classes as like a block together. They like to have certain classes back to back. The reason behind that is because it allows you to kind of just knock out your classes. That's something that I heard very often, is to like chunk your schedule, so have like classes in blocks. And this just also make sure that there's not like these weird liminal space in between your classes where you like don't have enough time to actually work, but then also you just have extra time just floating. It's just a lot more productive. I actually ended up doing this. It's really important to have backup schedules, because it's more than likely that your main schedule will not work out based on like wait listings, maybe the class is full, or maybe there's course restrictions. Like there'll be a bunch of things that you'll run into last minute. So you need to kind of have backup schedules to ensure that you're not like completely f***ed over if like your main schedule doesn't work. Don't overload yourself with credits if you don't think that you can do it. But like if you think that you can do it, let's like go for it, honestly. I've heard so many people say like, don't take like 18 credits or something, which honestly, if you are taking 18 credits, like kind of rip. But I know so many people who are taking 18 credits and are doing like perfectly fine.
Okay, granted, that is my perception of these people. I think based off of how they act and how I've interacted with them, that they're doing okay, but who knows? They could be kind of dying inside and they could be really struggling. But you can't really tell that always by just someone's appearance. Like the real point here that I'm trying to get at is that everyone can handle a different amount of work, and honestly that's okay. Some people can handle more work, like 18 credits, whereas some people can't do that, and that's perfectly okay. If you do think that you can handle more classwork, I just didn't want to be the person to deter you from doing that, because also in the end it's your decision. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just want you also to be cognizant of what you can handle and just be real with yourself. Like if you can't do it, like that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
It's just based on what you can handle, and that's very personal to you. So once you have figured out and established a few good ideas for different schedules that you can have for your semester, now's the time to actually start really jumping into scheduling.
So I'm dumb and I didn't say registering for classes, but that's essentially what I mean by jumping into scheduling. So let's just assume that I said that, and let's just continue on with the video like nothing happened.
Dog, this is the whole process. Scheduling in college is just something else. So now it's actually time for you to go ahead and schedule your classes using your college portal. So the way that it works at, okay, I'm so itchy. The way that it works at Georgia Tech is that scheduling is broken down into two phases. There's phase 1 and there's phase 2. Phase 1 is before the semester. It's well before the semester. This is where you kind of figure out like a general idea of what classes you're going to be taking for the next semester. And then phase 2 is your like add drop period. Honestly, phase 2 comes in so clutch. Like phase 1, I'll have a schedule that looks like absolute garbage, like hot garbage. And then phase 2 comes along and everything's fine. So don't worry too much about getting everything like set in phase 1. Once your registration is open, at least for Georgia Tech has a website called Buzzport. It's absolute garbage. It's known to have a terrible UI that's extremely confusing, which is very ironic considering we're a tech school. I honestly think that a CS student at Tech could design a better web interface than Buzzport, but that's just how the cookie crumbled. We have to deal with Buzzport's bullshit. The way that it works is that you'll get a time ticket, and once that time ticket opens, boom, like start scheduling. You have to be ready. Like it's literally like buying concert tickets. Once that time comes, boom, like be ready with your CRNs. And
I did not do a good job of explaining what this is. Okay, what?
Is it cold in here?
No, it's fine in here. Mommy, I'm recording. CRNs are course registration numbers, which are unique numbers used to identify certain courses that you're registering for.
Have everything right at your fingertips because you're going to need it. You're really going to need it. It's very intense, surprisingly. So yeah, that's kind of how it works for phase one. It probably would be better for me to just go ahead and voice over this part and really show like on my laptop and on a screen what this looks like, at least for Georgia Tech. And I'm assuming it's very similar for other colleges as well.
Yo, editing me is back, and let's just do a quick video demonstration of how scheduling looks like on a college portal. I'm using Buzzport, which is Georgia Tech's universally hated system. Alright, enough of me talking. You didn't come here to hear me talk. I mean, you kind of did, I guess, but you didn't come here to hear me just talk nonsense like I am right now. So, on to the demonstration.
So it turns out my plan to actually demonstrate this has been foiled because my time ticket is closed for phase one registrations, so I can't even add or drop classes. I decided that I'd just pull up a quick screenshot of what it would look like and just kind of explain what would happen. This is what your portal will look like when you're adding and dropping classes. And down here you can input your CRNs, your course registration numbers, and go ahead and hit submit changes, and then you'll go ahead and add all those classes with those CRNs to here, which is your classes that you're currently enrolled in. If we are being real here, I would say 60% of those classes that you thought that you could have, there's going to be something wrong, whether that be a wait list, whether that be major restrictions, which are so goddamn annoying. Sometimes you have to go in and you have to hit this class search button and then go in and just manipulate and change your certain sessions that you signed up for because of annoying things with major restrictions and all that. Okay, I hope this was like somewhat helpful.
I just want to stress that if you don't get all the classes you want in phase one registration, like please, I am begging you, like don't worry. I stressed out during phase one and everything like came together during phase two. I think that's really it for registration. Registration is honestly just so annoying. I swear I'm giving you advice right now, but my schedule is absolute garbage. I don't even know what classes I'm taking next semester. But you know what? Phase two will come in clutch. I'm certain of it. That's really the video. I don't know what else to say because I normally am not like a YouTuber like this who actually makes quality content. I do want to continue making some quality content, or like some things college related or some things that you can find actually valuable, because you know what? I feel like I do have something that I can share with you, even if it's a little, you know? I do want to up the quality of this channel. I do love my vlogs, but everything else kind of like flops. I feel like if I actually provided value, that would be better for my channel. I don't know, I want it to be like somewhat professional, like semi-professional, but also like at the same time, I want my channel to show my personality.